Thank you everyone for being here. I'm Ashley Grimm. I'm the 3rd District St. Louis County Commissioner and serve as the Chair of Public Safety. I really appreciate everyone coming here today so that we have up-to-date information both on the incredible efforts that are happening right now to safeguard our communities, as well as what people can expect in the future. I want to say first and foremost, we understand the gravity of what's happening, and that for a lot of people this is your livelihoods. For some people this is your life savings, and we are doing everything we possibly can to support you at this time, and we'll continue to do that in the future. It also highlights this critical range of services that we have in St. Louis County, from our Sheriff's Office to the emergency management team, GIS staff, to Public Works, who are all working with our local governments, businesses, constituents to pull together these efforts. So I especially want to applaud all of you here today. And to make note of our administrator, Kevin Gray, who is here as well. This Tuesday, the St. Louis County Board held an emergency meeting to declare a local state of emergency, which will open up potential funding streams from the state and federal government for emergency relief. And I have the pleasure of having Dewey Johnson after me. I want to say thank you to all of them who will be sharing logistics of what's happening now and what residents can expect in the future. Thank you.
All right, I'm Dewey Johnson, the emergency manager for St. Louis County. Just kind of give you a quick situational update. As you're aware, we have significant flooding in a couple of 3 or 4 areas in St. Louis County. One area is Capitogama Lake. Another one is Crane Lake area. And also the Island, Fish Lake, Hunter Lake, Cloquet River reservoir areas. Sandbagging continues up in Capitogama and also Crane Lake. St. Louis County is working with the local county boards on resource requests. We've assisted a couple of townships with sand and sandbags. The townships are the lead agencies on the local level, and the county's there to support them when they exhaust their local resources. And as Ashley said, the St. Louis County Board did an emergency declaration. That opens up some avenues for possible potential reimbursements, especially for public infrastructure such as roads, culverts, bridges, those kinds of things, and possibly the federal funding streams for small business loans and for businesses and property owners. Still looking for volunteers for sandbag. I know Capitogama has reached out. We put out a message through St. Louis County. This information is on our website if you're able to go up and assist. We do have some homes starting to flood around the Cloquet River area, Grand Lake, Friedenberg Townships. I know we've also been working with Grand Lake and Friedenberg Township. There is sand and bags available. If you're in need of that, contact your local township and they can help you access those resources. Damage assessment. So this incident is slow moving, and Joe Moore from the Weather Service will talk here in a minute about what we can expect yet, how much longer this event is anticipated to last. But it's a slow moving event. So our top priority first is public safety. We want to make sure everybody is safe, and our Under Sheriff Lakowsky will speak to that in a minute. But we need to get out eventually and see what damage has occurred and start getting some numbers together so we can start reporting to the state, and that opens up the federal avenue also. St. Louis County is putting together information on a website that will be published, and private business owners, private landowners can go to that website and put in if they've had damage. If there is at least 50% damage on a structure, on private structures, there may be some tax relief, and our assessor's office will go out, do a site visit on those properties and determine a new value because of that flooding damage. Public infrastructure, all reports should come to emergency management, and our contact information is on the website. And we will help you. Each township is actually an applicant to the state, so we will work with the townships as we did in 2012 flooding and try to access those reimbursement dollars as we move forward. We are on the list for the state to come up and do a preliminary damage assessment. That's expected to be in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and we'll keep everybody apprised as that moves forward. And that's what I've got. Thank you. Next, we'll have our Under Sheriff Jason Lakowsky talk about some public safety information.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I don't want to diminish the situation that's occurring countywide in regards to the flooding, but this is also a good opportunity to let our residents and visitors know that there are other safety issues out there. One of the statutory responsibilities for the sheriff is boat and water safety. So as we come into summer and everyone itching to get out with the good weather, there's going to be a lot more boating traffic, fishermen, things like that. So with the high water levels, there have been numerous hazards that have been created. We have floating dock sections, chairs, all kinds of debris from the yards and resorts that are affected by this. So our advice from a boating safety standpoint is use your electronics, but don't be fully dependent on those tracks that you may have had from years past. There are new hazards that have presented themselves. Rock piles that you knew existed before may now be just underwater. So we're advising you to slow down, use your due diligence. If you're fishing in a pair, make sure the person in the bow is on the lookout as you navigate the waters. Additionally, part of the responsibility of the sheriff is to enter into contract with a buoying service, which we do yearly. Because of the water levels, those buoys have not been placed. We do place buoys on Vermilion, Shagwa, and Burnside. I've spoken to the vendor daily. They're doing their best to get those buoys out there, but again, until the water levels go down, we're not going to be able to identify those commonly buoyed areas or warning areas. So keep that in mind. Enjoy the water, recreate, have fun, but also be safe. Joe Moore.
Good morning, Joe Moore with the National Weather Service here in Duluth. I'm also joined here by Steve Godey, who is a hydrologist that works at our office, who forecasts the river situation. We've had a lot of water in St. Louis County. Just briefly, how we've got here. Over the winter, and especially within the last couple of weeks, we've had well above normal rainfall and precipitation. This winter, we had 1.5 to 2 times the normal amount of precipitation that we would expect. And just in the past 60 days, we had 4 to 6 inches above normal rainfall. We had a lot of snow on the ground. That snow acted as a sponge, absorbing all of that rainfall. And over the past few weeks, as it has warmed up and that snow has melted, it has put a lot of water into the rivers and streams. Right now we have a flood warning out for the northern part of the county, where we have flooding concerns across the Rainy River Basin, and we also have a flood warning in the southern part of the county for the Cloquet River in southern St. Louis County. The flood warning in the south is likely to be lifted here in the coming day or two as the water coming out of Island Lake has decreased the level on the Cloquet River, and that flooding should be reducing as we go into the next day or two. Up north, as Dewey said, this is a slow-moving situation. There's a lot of water to move through the Rainy River Basin. The Rainy River Basin covers Ontario, northern Minnesota, and it will take a long time for this water to route downstream. Short term, the good news is we're not looking at a ton of precipitation. We're looking at maybe a 1/2 inch to 1 inch of rainfall today from showers and thunderstorms. This has been trending lesser and lesser, which is good news for us. The less rainfall that we see within this basin, the better. Currently, so let me kind of go through kind of the river basin. Like I said, this is a large and complex river basin. Starting near Ely and in Ontario from the east, this water basically flows from east to west into Namakan Lake, into Rainy Lake, and then into the Rainy River, and then that water goes up off to Lake of the Woods. I'll show a couple of graphs here, but the bottom line is that the water that's coming into this river basin is continuing to come in, and this water has to route downstream over the course of weeks. So this is the Basswood River near Winton, and this is kind of at some of where a lot of this water is coming to. This water is going to have to route through Namakan Lake, and then into Rainy Lake, and then into the Rainy River over the coming weeks, and it will take a while. What did we say, about 3
weeks from Basswood down to Namakan Lake for the routing time.
The water coming out of Namakan Lake has been on a rise, that graph on the right, and until that water level coming out of Basswood Lake starts to decrease, we're not going to see much of a mitigating factor, much of mitigation downstream. The forecast, though, the good news is that a lot of the snow has melted finally. Now the river levels are steady, and they will slowly be decreasing in this kind of upstream basin area. So Basswood Lake, the Basswood River, and the Vermilion River near Crane Lake, levels are coming down, but again, this is going to be moving slowly. Namakan Lake, the inflow into Namakan Lake, which is on the top, the outflow is on the bottom. Essentially, the water going into Namakan Lake is above the amount of water coming out of it. Until those equalize, we will continue to see Namakan Lake rise. Our predictions at this point are that we will see an additional 11 to 15 inch rise on Namakan Lake within the next 7 days. This includes the precipitation. The precipitation is accounted for here, but we are approaching record territory. Earlier this week, we passed the 2014 level where there was flooding in 2014, and at this rate, we are expected to possibly eclipse the all-time record set in 1950 for the highest level on Namakan Lake. The water level on Namakan Lake is kind of equivalent, a match for levels on Cavatogama Lake as well, because Cavatogama Lake is going into Namakan Lake.
So expect the 11 to 15 inch rises on that lake as well on Cavatogama.
Yeah. Rainy Lake is a similar story. The water flows from Namakan Lake into Rainy Lake. That water level is continuing to rise, and we anticipate an additional 11 to 13 inches of rise on Rainy Lake in the next 7 days, and continuing rises likely through the end of May.
No, I'll just jump in there because the impacts there are going to be like Voyageurs National Park and then the western side of the lake. I know that's Coochin County for the most part, but yeah, I know that impacts are already happening at Voyageurs. They're turning a lot of their visitors away. So the folks that are up and visiting really should be checking out their reservations before they come up.
Yes. As we said, the level's already exceeded on Namakan Lake the 2014 level, so areas that have experienced this flooding before, it's already happening again. The flooding is occurring, the damage is occurring. And I wanted to point out that we do have a webpage with information. We've been compiling information from the U.S. and the Canadian side with all of these graphs, all of this real-time information, and with kind of our latest predictions available on there. I also want to give credit to the North Central River Forecast Center, which is part of the National Weather Service. Their hydrologists down there, we've had about 5 hydrologists working nearly full-time on this situation, helping us with these predictions. So with that, I'll hand it back to Dewey for questions.
Before we go to questions, I just have to say that the support from the local residents, the town boards, county board has been overwhelming. I was up in Cab on Sunday in Crane Lake, and there were resort guests that were there, not fishing, that were sandbagging and things. So the support they're getting up there has been really good. They're just getting really tired, and again, this is a prolonged event, so we're not to the peak yet, so we got a long ways to go. And recovery on this will be a long recovery. So the county will do what we can to support the boards and request help from the state and the feds, and we'll do what we can. So with that, we'll open up to questions.
I know locally that they're doing the sandbagging, but is the county going to be coming up with any plans to help with assisting in that?
So we're assisting right now. We're assisting with sandbags for the township. So the local entity is responsible for the emergency. In this case, it's the townships. So when they say we don't have enough of this, we need help, that's when the county steps in and says, okay, we can help you with this. So yeah, we are actively assisting Cab and Crane Lake. Again, Friedenberg, Grand Lake townships have reached out. Those are the only ones so far that have reached out for assistance.
And you're prepared to help out more as those requests come in?
We do what we can. So that's kind of the ladder is they exhaust their local resource, then we exhaust ours, then we request help from the state, and they on up. So that's kind of how that request process works.
Quite there yet for the state yet? We're still.
We actually do have. I have requested assistance. Captogama reached out, and the Conservation Corps has a crew of 8 members up there. They're there for 7 days, and I have a request into the state to try to get some more for them and also Crane Lake, and try to extend that because it is going to look like it. The bags that they've done now are getting overwhelmed, so now they have to add to it. So it's going to take more efforts on that side. So yeah, we have received some support from the state already.
Thank you.
So yesterday I was over on the Mungershaw Road over past the Cloquet, and I just went to go get video of low level areas where they get down, and I got video of vehicles crossing through
so I'll leave that to Under Sheriff.
Yeah, we certainly don't recommend traveling on roadways where you may not be familiar. I get the fact that, local residents may be familiar with those areas and they might have their pickup trucks, but our recommendation is don't do it. You don't know if there's a washout underneath the water surface that may not have been there and is there now because of the flow. You don't want your vehicle to stall in the middle of the water that you're crossing. And then really, it comes down to not only your own public safety, but think about the resources that you might be tying up and taking away from legitimate emergencies. So I would not recommend it.
And with that in mind, do you expect there to be more washouts as the river levels continue to rise?
I would expect that if flows continue the way they are. Joe?
Yeah. So right now we're in a situation where the ground is completely saturated, and when that water hits, when it rains, just an inch or two, it is flowing right off into the rivers and streams, and it is causing those minor washouts. We do expect that to be a concern for the next week or two. Hopefully, if we can dry out, the flash flood risk will be lowered. But that's certainly a risk that if we do have any heavy thunderstorms in the next 2 weeks especially, that we see heavy rainfall that could cause additional minor flooding causing washouts. And we certainly encourage people that if you encounter a flooded road, report it to the public safety folks, and turn around, don't drown.
And then once we get past the point of flooding and we finish cleaning up and everything, are there any plans to prevent this amount of flooding in the future?
That would fall under mitigation, and some of the Fish Lake, Island Lake, that's Minnesota Power that owns a lot of that. So we do work hand in hand with them. If there's projects that come up that we can assist with, we absolutely will look at those. Some of it, there's just not much you can do, unfortunately, up by Cab and Crane. But if there's mitigation efforts, we do look at that after each incident.
We do also do studies. 2012, I think there were a lot of lessons learned, and we work very closely with our Public Works Department, the engineers who design the roadways, design the shoulders, to reduce future incidents. So that is a part of that mitigation assessment.
Did you mention the new website webpage?
I think I did. So St. Louis County's putting up a new website. If you go to stlouiscountymn.gov, on the top there's a red bar. There's a link to all our flood damage information and the links for private and business owners to submit their damage their damage information will be on there. My contact information, anything else that as we progress through this incident, we put on that one landing page.
Thank you all.
Thank you.